Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. My name's William, this is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Today we're going to be doing a little VFR flight in the Cirrus SR22. Going to be checking the plane out as well as a little bit of scenery. We're going from Flagstaff, Arizona. Going to use a couple VORs to navigate our way to Winslow, but more importantly, I'm going to use them to try and locate Meteor Crater along the way and kind of check it out. A pretty cool little scenic area. Driven through Flagstaff quite a few times and never actually went to Meteor Crater myself, so figured we'd go check it out in Flight Sim as well as kind of test out the Cirrus on a short little flight. I hope you all enjoy it. Let's go ahead and get on into it. Alright everybody, so we are loaded up here on the ramp at Flagstaff in the SR22. It's my first time flying it, but we are going to start it up cold and dark. So kind of just an idea of where some things are. I know the parking brake is set. The battery switches, I can see them here, so battery 1 and 2 are on. Strobe light right there, go ahead and turn that one on. Verify mixture is rich, on. Power level full forward, okay. Let's see, fuel pump right here, set that to prime and then to boost, so let it prime for a couple seconds and then switch it over to boost, and now then we set the throttle to 1/4 inch open. Take both of those and then go for there's the key right there. Go for engine start. Alright, so the engine started up nicely. Power level all the way back. Oil pressure's in the green. Alternator on. Avionics on. Parking brake release, which we're not quite ready for yet, so we'll go ahead and get that on out of the way. Let's see, I can go ahead and turn my pitot heat on, and we're going to turn the fuel pump off of boost. That way we don't have to listen to it whine. We'll set the correct pressure. And we are going to have a couple things to set up as far as our navigation aids, but before I can do that on the taxi, I'm just going to go ahead and set up some references, so I know we're going to be flying roughly heading directly to the east, so I want to go ahead and set that up. I also want to go ahead and set up the altitude I'd kind of like to cruise at, which is going to be 9,500 feet, just so I have those there for my own reference. I'm not trying to do it while in the air. It makes it a little bit easier, especially whenever you're playing with these little switches here. So we got a bunch of guys just hanging out in front of a plane with its propeller running. It's probably not going to end well for them, but we're going to go ahead and get on with it and start heading out to the runway. We're going to try. Say we're clear of him. Alright, so I do need to set up the frequencies for 2 VORs. I need to set up the frequency for the Flagstaff VOR, which is going to be our primary form of navigation today, and then Winslow VOR as well, because once we're going to fly the Flagstaff VOR on the 088 outbound radial to about 33 miles, and that should put us directly over Meteor Crater. From there, I'm going to kind of check out the crater for a minute, and then we're going to pick up the Winslow VOR and just fly it directly inbound. It doesn't really matter at that point, and it should just be a short, like 10-ish miles, something like that, flight from the crater to Winslow, which is not, Winslow VOR is not actually on the field, but it doesn't really matter. So Flagstaff is 113.85, so we'll go ahead and put it in the active for nav1, and it is verified FLG for Flagstaff, so that is good. And then Winslow is 112.6, so we'll go ahead and set that one up. INW is Winslow, so we're good to go there. The next thing I want to do is I want to set my bearing 1 to nav1 so I can get my distance from Flagstaff, as this is going to be really important for navigating to the crater, and then bearing 2, I'm going to set that to nav 2 for Winslow, just so I can kind of keep track of how far we are from Winslow. Now then, I want to set our CDI to the bearing I want to fly out on, which is the 088 radial outbound from Flagstaff. So we're going to go ahead and set that up now for us to capture once we're in the air. And we can go ahead and go for takeoff from the taxiway here. We don't need to go full length with the threshold, so do you want to remember that I'm at 7,000 feet? The aircraft's performance might not be the greatest, but it is a Cirrus, and it's a rather high performance airplane, so I think we'll be okay. Flip the rest of the lights on. Hopefully my navigation skills aren't so rusty that this goes terribly wrong, but we will find out. So we are full power now. Just kind of hold center line. I don't know the V speeds for the aircraft, but we're going to try for, I think, rotate around 80 knots. See if she starts to jump into the air before that. 70, 75, we'll go ahead and rotate. There's 85 knots in positive rate. Try and climb out at around 90. Just kind of trim the plane for that. Keep the climb up. Just about 300 feet over the ground. We're going to start our left-hand turn now and go for a heading that'll put us in a good spot to capture that 088 outbound radial of the Flagstaff VOR. You can see the nav2 data down here was going in and out, blinking there. So it is alive now. We can see our distance from the Winslow VOR is 44 miles. Bit off on speed, need to kind of pitch the nose down, get back on top of that. So we're gonna overshoot our 088 heading by a bit. We're gonna try and roll out on 070 here. Let's get the airplane cleaned up now that we're a good 500 feet over airport elevation. Start to increase our speed a little bit and just kind of hold a pitch. Try to. So we're overshooting it now, because now I'm gonna wait for this green line to come alive and start to creep in towards the right. Once it does that, we'll start a slow turn to actually intercept and then get on that radial and be able to fly it outbound once we're established on it. So just waiting for that little green bit to come alive and start moving over to the right. But just going to keep an eye on everything else and try and maintain 070 on the heading and continue our climb up to 9,500. See, we're already 2.5 miles from Flagstaff, so we're looking at about 30 miles to the crater now. Sounds like quite a bit, but once we get up to altitude, this thing should really be quite nice on its airspeed, so shouldn't take too long. Got just over 900 feet to go to our cruising altitude. It's nice and bumpy out. It's a nice clear day. It's a really pretty area too. Flagstaff was pretty much the only part of after Flagstaff, I stopped enjoying Arizona as far as whenever I was driving through it. From Flagstaff to Phoenix is also really pretty, kind of that area. But so you can see the green line kind of moving over to the right now. It's going to slowly start creeping over to get on heading, We just want that to completely line up. It's easy to get carried away and put a little bit too much bank in it. Really good climb rate, really good performance out of the plane. Just kind of hold 080 until it lines up a little bit more. And then we'll get on heading. 100 feet to go. Start easing that climb out. And there it is established, so we're probably going to have to go a little bit to the right, but just hold 080, 9,500 feet, basically at the same time. That's awesome. So we are established on our radial, and we're on our cruise altitude. So we're already 7 miles from Flagstaff. We're looking for 33. And we're starting to really pick up some airspeed now. We're doing 160 knots across the ground. So this should not take too long at all. I think we'll go ahead and go for
engaging
autopilot mode, and we'll keep it in just roll and pitch, but we'll go ahead and put the heading mode on. Let it kind of hold. I kind of engaged it while we were in a descent there. That's unfortunate. We'll have to kind of level things out before we go for an engage there. So we'll try it again.
Engaging autopilot.
I think we should be okay there. We're not quite on altitude, but that's all right. I just kind of want to take a look around outside real quick. So that's Flagstaff there behind us. We've got some really pretty mountain ranges up to the north. And you can kind of see this transition as we're decreasing in altitude. We took off from 7,000 feet. Winslow is going to be at 5,000-ish. It kind of transitions to this kind of woodland, really green to kind of a high desert. And if I am not mistaken, that right there kind of looks like a crater. So I think at least I got the direction right. That's a positive sign. Now we'll see if I got the distance right too. Hopefully that definitely looks like a crater to me, right off the nose there. And that is directly where we're going. So we will see in about 20 miles now. 20 miles, we're doing 165 knots across the ground. This airplane is performing like a champ, really. Let's see if we can't get it to establish itself at 9,500 here. We do have a bit of a wind off from the right, so need to just kind of compensate with a little bit of a heading change to kind of maintain. There we are, we're captured on 9,500 feet. I could put it on nav mode and it would just fly that radial all the way out, but it's a little too easy. I want to stay on top of it. That definitely looks like a crater. Apologize if my co-pilot, my dog has got quite an itch. It's not a very handy co-pilot, I can say that much. Not a very handy co-pilot at all. I really should get a camera or something set up though, so you can see his antics. He requires all the attention all the time. Whenever I started this, though, he was actually taking one of his rare naps, and I guess he hasn't awoken. Decided everyone needed to know about it. Anyways, I am now very confident that this is the crater in question, which is nice. So we're going to fly to it. I'm going to disengage the autopilot once we get a little bit closer, and just kind of take a look around. See what it looks like from the air here before we head on to Winslow. Just complete the flight, land, shut down. In all honesty, the Cirrus has been really easy to fly. I never got to fly one of these in real life. The flight school I was using actually transitioned. They didn't transition, but they acquired some SR20s basically right after I left. I did the majority of my training in a Cessna 172, a little bit of time in a 152, and a little bit of time in a Diamond DA-20, which is by far my favorite plane to fly. And this kind of reminds me of the Diamond, only a lot faster and a lot better climb, which is nice. But the Diamond was so much fun to fly. I want to try out the Diamonds in flight sim before too long. Not sure if it's worth doing a video over that though. Just it's pretty slow. It's kind of hard to do a trip in them or something along those lines. But maybe just some pattern work or something. I'm pretty out of practice whenever it comes to all that stuff. That is definitely a crater. Alright, so we are just now about 24 miles from Flagstaff, so it would be about 9 miles to go, which I think is about accurate. We are on the 088 radial from Flagstaff, so all of that's good as well. And from the crater here, it should be about 11 miles from Winslow VOR, which is not directly at the airport. It's about 5 miles off of the airport or something along those lines. So, but we can just navigate our way to Winslow using the little blue arrow there. That should just take us straight to the VOR, and from there we should be within range. That if I can't see the airport, I've got other problems. That is really neat. So let's go ahead and disengage the the autopilot here, and get off of the radial from the VOR. Maybe I'm just a space nerd getting excited over a hole in the ground, but this is pretty cool. I could definitely see why something like this would be much better to see from the air rather than actually go off into it. I would imagine if you kind of stand on the edge of it, it's probably pretty impressive, but if you're standing in the middle of it, I just kind of feel like you're in a hole in the ground. You know, there's really no other way about it. This is pretty neat. Now, I kind of wonder if seeing something like this makes me wonder if I could like land a cub in it or something. I'm sure it can be done. I really do wish we had helicopters at times like this as well. I'm looking forward to a good helicopter. So we do have a little field basically directly at our 11 o'clock, but we're still going to proceed on to Winslow after this. I just kind of want to get a little bit closer, get a nice view of it. So you can see the little, I think it's the tourist station there, and then the actual crater. Just a big old hole in the ground. We're just about 2,500 feet over it. It's being able to do stuff like this, though, that I think really does improve the immersion in flight sims. That is pretty darn neat. It looks pretty damn good to me too. I mean, the texture mesh sometimes is a little bit weird, but still. Just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Got a massive crater. I mean, jeez. You can see the tourist station down there too. It's actually got the buildings. And cars in the parking lot and everything. That's really neat. Yeah, I think if you wanted to come out here, definitely seeing it by plane or by helicopter is really the only thing that's going to do it any kind of justice. That is massive. All right, let's stop gawking over just a huge hole in the desert. Let's kind of get the airplane back under control. Can really run away from you without the kind of feeling pit of your stomach, at least for me. We'll go ahead and put this directly on the blue. Take a look. See Winslow, we got the runway lights right there. So right at about our 1 o'clock is the field. So we're gonna go ahead and continue to the VOR though. The VOR should give us a, if we basically overfly it and then turn, make our right turn into the airport, it should put us on a nice final for the runway. So we'll go ahead and keep that plan, basically. Kind of hold 6,500 feet here, just about 1,500 feet above the ground. It's really bumpy. Yes, there's a lot of heat coming off of the desert here. It's crazy how just in like 30 miles the terrain changed so much, though. How many trees and everything there are around Flagstaff at the higher elevation, the cooler temperatures and all that, and then you get out here just about 2,000 feet lower, but it gets a lot hotter and a lot drier. And yeah, massive change in the way everything looks. We still have the runway. We actually have a visual on the runway now. I think I do have a different option. We could go ahead and go for the straight in now if we wanted to. But I think we'll just continue it out and use the nav aids that we set up and everything. We're just about 5 miles now from the Winslow VOR. Just start reducing our power a little bit and get our altitude in check. So I don't think I'm going to be landing the runway I thought at Winslow. I guess there's two. It's all good though. Just had a massive freeze in the sim there for a moment. Try and cut that out, but if you guys see any of it, it's definitely on my end as well. Alright, so we're just about 1.5 miles now from the VOR. We have the airport in sight. Losing altitude because I'm concentrating on the wrong things. We do have the airport in sight. We're not really going to follow the VOR anymore because it's going to start getting quite sensitive as we kind of overfly it. We're just going to establish ourselves here on a final for the runway. Basically right as we passed over. It's awesome to see. And start reducing that power. So we're just about 4 miles now from the airport. Start getting the aircraft configured for landing. Turbulence isn't going to make it any easier, that's for sure. Just a little bit of a headwind, crosswind, a little bit from the right side. Doesn't look like much though. Alright, let's go ahead and get the first notch of flaps in. We can kind of get our speed under control, get a little bit more drag out there. So I think we're
500.
a bit high here. Try and do the approach at about around about 80, I think. We are red and white on the lights. Oh, okay, that second notch of flaps really let us know that they were there. That's all good. So we'll go for 75 on the approach now. It's kind of nice. 80, anything over 80 was going to feel a little fast. Now we're a little low, it's all okay. Shooting for over the threshold, go idle. A little bit of a balloon, just hold it in. And then set up that center line, perfect. There's definitely been better landings, but I would argue that there have been worse. So, it's a nice little trip there from Flagstaff to Winslow, not too far. Pretty cool to see Meteor Crater, and actually pretty impressed by it as well. And go ahead and take the taxiway up here to our right, and we'll just go to the ramp and go through a little bit of a shutdown. A pretty neat little airport, in all honesty. Some homes literally just right there. Man. Alright, so we are clear of the runway. Get a couple things off. pretty neat. It's actually got the writing out there and everything. Go ahead and pull in for parking here. Looks like the FBO. Park here and call it good. Let's get the parking brake on now. Alright, parking brake on. We're going to keep the strobe on until we are set up. I think this should be pretty straightforward. So we just turn our avionics off. We're going to go mixture fully off. And I guess that's going to be our flight. So that only took us, what, about 21 minutes? For some reason it didn't count my takeoff, but nevertheless, that was the flight. I wasn't expecting it to abruptly end like that, so a little bit taken off guard, but I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the trip, and go check out Meteor Crater if you haven't. Let me know if there's any other cool landmarks like that around that maybe you've seen that I may not have heard of or anything along those lines. Definitely go check them out in Flight Sim. It's pretty fun. So, like I said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.